On today's episode, we'll talk about tinkering with Larry McConkey, early days on homebuiltstabilizers.com, Saturday Night Live, Blue Bloods, and of course, reaching out to Garrett Brown out of the blue as a 15-year-old kid. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out the breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, the musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the blocking, the answers, the images, and so much more. If you're enjoying this podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello and welcome back to the Op Podcast, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I'm Dave Comides, your host, and my guest is coming to me today from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Steadicam operator, conventional camera operator as well, Tori Wills. A couple of Tori's credits, but not all. Not suitable for work. American Sports Story. Law and Order, just for anybody listening, that's the Mothership reboot, and people in New York will understand what that means. SNL, Extrapolations, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Tori, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hi, yeah, thank you, Dave. It is an honor. I've been, listening to this since episode 1, and truly feel privileged to be able to finally be a part of it, and kind of like, share my story as well.
Wait. So you've been listening to this episode 1 and you're not bored yet? You're the person?
No. I'm that person.
Yeah.
I am the reason why your episodes get. No,
I love that, and hopefully you're the reason why we're apparently the number one film podcast in the Maldives. So I don't know if you're
okay.
If you're
I've been,
through there, but I appreciate it. So what's your story? How'd you get to this point?
So I've kind of had a bit of an interesting arc to my career. It starts much younger than I feel like most people start, although I've heard a few of the people who started as children as well. So I grew up, my dad was a camera operator and editor for a show called Evening Magazine or PM Magazine, depending on what market you ran. It was a Westinghouse owned and operated TV station show, kind of a little bit of a mix between a 2020 and an Entertainment Tonight. They did some soft news, some entertainment news, also some hard news. And my dad was there from 1976 to 1993 and actually won 2 Emmys, one for his work shooting, one for his work editing for his time there. Yeah, so I grew up adjacent to the industry, certainly not in the exact field that I ended up in, but, certainly cameras were a thing, composition was a thing, like every time in my house there would always be cameras, always this, film cameras, video cameras. We had all this kind of stuff, and for years of my childhood my mom continually loves to remind me there was a live mobile uplink truck parked outside of our house because my dad would drive it home from work.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
did you understand what that was, or was it just
no?
The
I
big
had
truck
no.
out?
It was just the big truck. I mean, actually, it was funny. My mom always shares the story that at school they were like, "Okay, so what does your mom do, and what does your dad do?" It's like, my dad drives a truck. And that was the thing I was really excited about. My dad drives a truck.
I love it. Yeah, that's
because
great.
When you're like 5, that's what is your dad drives a big truck and it's
so
outside your house.
You said he started in the 70s. So did he start with film?
So he started working in news, in film. So he was actually the chief of photography for a news station, shooting and processing his own black and white 16 millimeter film back when that was the thing for news. And then eventually he went to a TV station in Buffalo, New York, where they were just getting into ENG. And because he was the chief of photography, he got the first TK76 RCA cameras and was doing the first ENG. So then when this brand new show out of Philadelphia, Evening Magazine, was starting up and they were looking for cameramen, and cameramen, of course, was the term at the time, little less inclusive in the 70s. They were looking for camera people who had experience with electronic news gathering, ENG,
which was
video.
which was not many, right?
No, and it's certainly not good ones.
Yeah. Sure.
So my dad got recruited and ended up back in Philadelphia.
Wow.
And it was kind of worked out his career there, and especially a lot of the people who he started with went on to form Banyan, the television production company Banyan that did all the like TLC shows in the 90s. Like that was all ex-Evening Magazine employees.
Cool.
So I grew up adjacent to the industry. However, I will note that my dad expressly forbade me from ever going into television because of how rotten of an industry it is, and that worked out really well for him. But
he should have told you have to go into TV. I will not do
exactly,
it.
Exactly.
If you do not become a camera person, anyway.
So I grew up with cameras around the house, and I had no real interest. I wasn't someone who I was a storyteller from the time I was a child. No, I was a nerd. I was a geek. I wanted to take things apart. My favorite toy as a kid was a power screwdriver, and I would like take the doors off the hinges as a 6-year-old in the house. I mean, that was me. I was 100% a tinkerer, somebody who wanted to work with their hands, and I loved computers. But that then led to my sister, when she was going away to college, my older sister, got an iMac, and it was the first iMac that had iMovie on it. And I was fascinated because I love computers and I love technology. So I was like, I need to learn this new program, iMovie. This is so cool. I could make a movie on a computer. And at the same time, I was going into middle school, and my middle school, lo and behold, had a video program. I don't know how, I don't know why, where they got the resources.
What year is this? I mean, what years?
This would have been 2000, 2001. In that time period.
All right.
And so they had this morning announcements program that every week would put a video out that's here's what's activities are going on next week, all that stuff. As a middle schooler, that's fantastic. Yeah. And as I got there, they were like, well, we've bought this new thing. It's an iMac and it has iMovie on it. And I went, I know that.
I know how to do that.
I became their editor. And then I was teaching other kids iMovie. And then they were like, well, do you know cameras? I'm like, sure, I know cameras, whatever. You fake it till you make it 100%. So I started shooting things, and lo and behold, discovered a whole bunch of people who were really interested in making films. I'm like, well, cool, I can make films then too. Sure. Yeah. I know the tech side. That's great. maybe not coming from a storytelling perspective, but coming from a tech perspective. Yeah. Which then led to, in high school, several of my friends who came from that same program were making films. So like every year, every summer, we'd do a short film. I would shoot it. I'd edit it. I'd do all the lighting. And that then led me to a very interesting thing, which is when you are a teenager and you're making films, you have grand aspirations, I think, as we all do as teenagers, and yet you have zero resources. So suddenly I'm a geeky, tinkering kind of person, and I'm discovering, there's all these things that people do with cameras, like mount them on things like cranes and dollies and all of this life and world. And I was like, I want all of that, but I have no money. So I found online this community called homebuiltstabilizers.com. And I'm sure several people's eyes just lit up in the audience. And to all of you, I'm so sorry you experienced the same experience I did. It was this community of people who were building camera dollies and cranes and especially Steadicams by themselves. And this is started back in the 90s, before like machining was easy, before all this stuff, like people building stuff out of plumbing parts, people building stuff out of
That's
wood.
Amazing.
I mean, yeah. And I discovered this and just immediately went, coolest thing I've ever seen. Done. Yeah. That's my entire personality now. Congratulations.
That's great. Now before this, did you have any idea what a Steadicam was?
No, none. I went to that website to look for building a camera crane because I thought camera crane was what I really wanted. I wanted a crane. Sure. I wanted the thing that went 20 feet up in the air. Yeah. You could put a camera on it. And I found that and I'm like, this Steadicam thing, whatever. That's not for me. Yeah. And then I started digging into it and it was like, oh, this is challenging. And I'm also somebody who I love a challenge. And actually, I think it's what's kept me in this for so long in the film industry is that like, I never quite felt like I fully got good at it. I always felt like whenever I got to a point where I was like, I'm starting to feel kind of good, I just get humbled hard.
Yeah. Well, that's the film industry in general, right? And it's still happening. Wait, I want to interrupt you for a second, throw a name there just on the crazy off chance that there's a connection here. You never ran into a guy named Bob Fisk on that forum, or do you know a guy named Bob Fisk in upstate New York?
It's
Doesn't ring a
entirely
bell.
plausible. I
Yeah.
did, but it's been so
the
long.
reason that I ask is the entire reason that I'm a Steadicam operator, although I mean, well, my history being who knows whether it would have happened anyway, is I did and you've probably heard this story. I did when I was at NYU. I went to upstate New York and did was first AC on a movie called Crawdaddies, which is a horror movie, and like it was amazing. We worked 72 hours one day or something like that, and it was raining and we were in the mud and eating sandwiches that were moldy and, that kind of thing. Living the dream. And this guy named Bob Fisk came out with a quote unquote Steadicam, which I'd never heard of before. And it was made out of like, I remember the center post was one of those paint poles that you like turn and extend and whatever. And the main thing I remember was, because I was the first AC, he's like, here, you can pull focus with this. And he hands me this thing, and it's a return mechanism from a VCR.
Oh my God.
And that was connected into the lens, and he ran around, I mean, it was the best was made out of buckets and whatever, but I bet I'm going to call him because I bet he was on that forum, and it would be hilarious.
I bet he was. And actually, I vaguely remember a Steadicam that had a paint pole as its center post.
And he was big into computers and he was geeky. So I bet it's it anyway, but go ahead. That's amazing. Like I sort of am jealous that I never had this experience on the computer like you did. That's great.
Yeah, no, I felt very, very lucky. And I built my first Steadicam, and then I built another Steadicam because the first one didn't really work, and then I built another Steadicam because that one didn't really work, and I got more and more interested. And I actually, when I was in high school, got a job at a machine shop as an apprentice machinist, learning from an ex-Boeing machinist who was the one who did all of the landing gear for the Osprey VTOL helicopters. And so he brought me in, and his grandson was one of the kind of apprentices in the shop. So he already had a teenager working in the shop. It's fine. And he was like, here's the ground rules. Number one, everything you bring into me, you have to bring in a fully dimensioned technical drawing to my standards. And if it's not to my standards, I'm going to tell you what's wrong with it and send you back home. And then when you bring me in something I'm happy enough with, then over your lunch break, you will clock out and you will get the manual machines. You don't get the CNC machines. You don't get to do this the way we do it now. You get to do it the way I did it in the 70s. And
so great. Yep.
He taught me machining. And so I learned as like a 15, 16-year-old machining.
By the way, cut to teaching Steadicam to people and going, turn the volt off.
Yes, precisely.
Right.
Hey, you have to know what happens when this all breaks.
That's great. Oh, wow. I'm jealous.
Yeah. So I built my first Steadicam, and I was super obsessed with it. Like, this was my whole personality again at this point. And at the time, I was like, God, I really wish I could try a real Steadicam. That would be amazing. And my dad, and this is kind of one of those moments of happenstance, my dad was on the Emmy board in Philadelphia for a long time, and he had nominated Garrett for an Emmy at one point. So he knew of Garrett. He knew Garrett was in Philadelphia. So my dad goes, have you tried looking up the guy who invented Steadicam? He's in Philadelphia. So I send an email as a 15-year-old to Garrett Brown, the guy who invented Steadicam, a man who has no business even like interacting with me. And he so graciously responded and said,
I would be shocked if you said anything else. That's fantastic.
And his immediate response was, okay, you're a teenager, you want to get into Steadicam, why don't you come out to the SOA workshop, the Steadicam Operators Association workshop? And so as a 15-year-old, I was invited out as a guest for one day, and he made sure it was the day he was going to give his lecture on the moving camera.
Oh, my God. Oh,
for those who don't know, Garrett Brown delivers this like multi-hour lecture on the theory of the moving camera. Why do we move cameras? How do we tell stories? What does it mean? How much does parallax and storytelling and timing add to the cinema perspective? And again, I'm 15. So this breaks me. I am completely just like, it's like the veil of around the world has been lifted, and I suddenly see that I can manipulate people's emotions and like tell stories and make people feel things and see things that I want them to see. And introducing me to like Garrett and Larry and all of these amazing people who, you know, have done all this work, and like introducing me to Jake Kilroy, who is part of the SOA, and Jerry Holloway, and all these people I got to know as a 15-year-old.
Wow. And I'm sure every single one of them was like excited about you being excited about it. Just took you right under their wing. I could totally
100%.
see that. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And all the people who paid good money for it are probably, who the hell is that kid? Why is he getting so much time?
Oh, 100%.
That's so great. Oh,
and
God.
so I went away to college, was super obsessed with Steadicam. Oh, actually, before I went away to college, in my senior year of high school, I went and did a 2-day Steadicam workshop with Peter Abraham. So
amazing.
the 2-day
Peter taught me, by the way. So
amazing. Peter is just the most giving, kind, respectful, but like he really knows his stuff, and he also really understands teaching in a way that
totally
I have just taken to heart and been like, I want to emulate this man in any way I can. So I took a first workshop with him, and oddly enough, one of my fellow classmates was John Beatty, who is now the DP of Law and Order. Well, he did Law and Order Organized Crime, and he's now on the CIA show. And so it's really funny because every once in a while we kind of get together and reminisce a little bit. And it's like, remember when we were 18 and we both did a Steadicam workshop together? And, you know, I was 18, you were 23, and like I didn't have a driver's license yet. Yeah, that was wild. And now we're like, it's funny. I've worked for him as a Steadicam operator as he's a DP now, and it's like
that's so cool. That's so cool. I like, and I mean, people who are not Steadicam operators within the community, or maybe just you're like, you know, West Coast and don't know some of the people on the East Coast, or like the people that you're mentioning are like just, I mean, these are people who live and breathe Steadicam and like give it, you know, and are just such a part of the lore and whatever. So like, you know, you could have stumbled into something else and it would have been totally different, but it's like you hit the jackpot, right? I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing.
I was so lucky, and I think what everyone just saw was genuine enthusiasm, and they all went, oh, cool, somebody really likes this. Okay, I'm going to help them. And that generosity was not lost on me, for sure.
Did you ever get one of the ones you built to the point where you could actually like fly it around a little bit, or did they never get to that point?
Oh yeah, no, I shot several films with the Steadicams I built. I even like went out and did like professional jobs with it, because I ended up, the arm and vest, which are, you know, the support apparatus, those I never got right. I never got a vest that fit my body. I never got an arm that carried weight without breaking. But the sled I nailed. Yes. And like I got the bearings perfect. I designed all my own rod clamps and rod systems to the base. I did all my own power wiring. I soldered all the wiring. I did all of that, and it worked so well. I actually flew that rig until I was 21. And like went out and did.
But it wasn't a gimbal like we know. How did you?
It was. I reverse engineered. Yeah, it was a full 3-axis. It had bearings on all the axes. It was fully centerable, so you could adjust the XY centering. I cleaned out and reshaped my own bearings because I was using off-the-shelf bearings, which are greased instead of oiled. In case you can't tell, I'm a huge nerd. And
no, but the thing is, I'm also a huge nerd, but I don't have anywhere the talent that you have for building things. I mean, my friend Matt and I built a quote unquote, and I'm going to put quotes around the quote unquote Steadicam, but it was, you know, it was like completely useless and whatever. But that's amazing. Do you still have that?
No, sadly, because as a 21-year-old, I was like, I don't need any of these parts.
I don't need this anymore. God damn.
Scrapped a bunch of it and sold pieces of it as parts.
Did you ever bring it to one of the workshops to show them?
I brought parts of it, and I certainly brought photos of it. And I remember like Peter Abraham going, that's really interesting. And I still have all these photos of it. Maybe I'll send you a couple of them.
Please do. I would love to post. I'd love to see the photos of that. But that is that's so great. That's so fantastic. So you took the 2-day workshaunt.
Took the 2-day workshop, and then went away to college. Went to college in a tiny little Catholic college in Buffalo, New York. No one's ever heard of, because my aunt and uncle were both professors there. It was like backup of backup schools, because it turns out that when you apply with a really strong engineering background, a lot of colleges say, look, we know you applied to art school, but have you considered engineering? And so I decided, you know what? Forget all that. I'm done. I'm just going to go to a school. It's a tiny school, whatever. I'll get my bachelor's degree. I don't care. I know what's important is experience. I'm going to have experience. And I was really lucky, because when you go to a college for communications and digital media, and your graduating class is 3 people in that program, you get noticed when you show up with a camera package and a Steadicam and ask to put it in the college's gear lockup. Mm-hmm. First of all, you get a job. I ran that gear lockup all 4 years, including as a freshman, which was very funny. And the second thing is, the lead professor of the department goes, I have a friend who's a cinematographer and he's looking for PAs and I need someone responsible. And you seem responsible. So that, I mean, it's funny. Everything is such a linear line. I feel so kind of lucky to be able to package it this way, but it's this linear path of I did this, which led to this, which led to this. So I end up as a PA for this DP in Buffalo who shot a bunch of commercials. And we shot like AAA commercials and, dairy commercials and car commercials. And it was small stuff, but very small crews. And so immediately I show up on set and I'm competent. I've been shooting my own movies. I know what I'm doing to an extent, obviously only as much as an 18, 19-year-old can. And so my second day working with him, he pulls me aside. He says, you know too much. I don't feel good about you being a PA because I'm not paying you and that feels exploitative. So from here on out, you're a grip.
Wow.
And so I worked my way through college as a grip on commercials. And because it was Buffalo and it's this tiny little market, I also sometimes operated a camera, and I also sometimes was a boom operator and a sound recordist, and I also gaffed things, and so you couldn't wear one hat because it was too small of a market. Mm-hmm. And so when the DP got a commercial, he called his crew, and his crew would come out and do it, and we would all just kind of go, do you want to key this one? Because I don't think I'm up. Yeah, I keyed the last one, and the gear package, this one is smaller, so I don't really want to deal with that.
But what a blessing, because as you know, the more you know about everybody's job, the better operator you become, because you just first of all, you can protect yourself, but also you just understand what's involved. That's amazing.
Absolutely. So I worked my way through college, and at the same time was I really want to be a Steadicam operator, and that DP got me my first couple Steadicam gigs with him. And actually, very notably, his name is Chris Santucci. I don't know where he is in the world right now. He moved out of Buffalo. I think he's still shooting. He introduced me to his AC, Shannon Madden. That name will come in later. And he also bought a Bartek wireless follow focus for me.
Oh, wow.
Because
oh my gosh,
we didn't have one and I couldn't afford one. So he just bought one because I was I want to do Steadicam, but it was in the era of the 5D and the first large sensor cameras. So you want to do Steadicam, you have to have a way to pull focus. Well, he was I'll buy one. Sure. Whatever.
That's incredible.
So again, tremendous luck. And I think it was also just that I showed him that it was worth it. That I'm going to do this for you, and then I'm going to go do Steadicam for you. And my senior year of college, I cashed out all my student loans and I bought a Steadicam rig, a big full-size one, a GPI Pro 1 sled, which was,
it's a beautiful sled.
Beautiful sled. It was a little broken, but that's okay. I knew how to fix things.
So this was a used sled.
Used. Oh, tremendously used. Yeah. This was 2011. So a Pro 1 in 2011 was a little questionable. And I bought a Master Series Steadicam arm, and that had corrosion on all of the bones, so it had to be wrapped in plastic film so it didn't get all over your hands.
Oh my God.
And I bought a Model 2 vest from Ron Baldwin that the foam inside was just powder.
Yep.
And it smelled like a Model 2 vest.
I was just going to say it probably wasn't foam. It was probably just Ron's sweat from over the years that had
just
built
congealed.
up in there.
Yeah.
Just horrible. No, I could see this right now.
And so I put together this rig and went, I'm a Steadicam operator now.
Right.
And I kind of was. I don't know. And eventually, after about maybe 6 months of operating with it, I started having back issues from that Model 2 vest. And I decided to take out a loan, and I bought a Classen harness. Thankfully, I was in Buffalo, which is a 2-hour drive from Toronto. So I drove up to Toronto, had them measure me, and the only thing I bought new out of the entire package was a Walter Klassen back mount harness.
And then for anybody who isn't in the Steadicam geeky world, that's sort of that was the first sort of different vest that came out. I think it was the first one with a back mount, right? So it was connected to the back. I remember actually when I took my class, which was 94, myself and I think a couple other people were talking about, how you have to, basically when you have a Steadicam on, when it's side mounted, it changes your center of gravity. So you're always leaning backwards in some way to do it. And I remember all of us going, well, like if it was connected on the back, wouldn't your center of gravity be at the center? And like people were like, listen, you don't even know how to operate. You be quiet. How would you put it on the back? Shut up. We're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. That's why I'm asking. But but that was a huge change for everybody when that came out. I tried a Walter Klassen back mounted vest and I so wanted to use it and I just couldn't. It didn't feel right. It was in the wrong place. For some people's
bodies, it makes sense. For some people's bodies, it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't do it. And I was so bummed, but such is life, That's so yeah. Cause back when, it's a good example of that Model 2 vest you talk about. Cause back when I started, you'd put it on and it's like, is it supposed to hurt? And they're like, yeah, it hurts. Just deal with it. Strap it on. Go. and then at some point, like towards the Walter Klassen, people were like, maybe it doesn't have to hurt. maybe it can support you. Yeah.
No, it's a huge kind of, shift in the industry.
Absolutely.
And I felt very lucky that then I had that rig and I'd been considering picking up a less expensive used lighter weight rig, but I was encouraged by a bunch of people online, mostly on the Steadicam forum, to buy the heaviest, biggest rig I could. And they were just like, you never want to turn down a job because of the gear you had.
True.
And that was tremendously good advice because 1 month out of graduating from college, I get a phone call that, hi, the Asylum is coming to Buffalo, New York to film a feature. And for those of you who know the Asylum, a chill just went up your spine because I am, an easily exploitatable 22-year-old. And they wanted to do this film in Buffalo, shoot Buffalo for New York City, which, again, interesting choice. But they were going to film it on the Red One. And the Red One was like the hot new camera of the time. It was a heavy pig of a camera and it recorded onto these big hard drives and it ran through batteries.
It was terrible on every
level. It took 90 seconds to boot up. It was atrocious.
It was terrible.
I was the only person within a 5-hour drive who had a Steadicam that could carry more than 30 pounds.
There you go.
So they had to hire me.
So that pays off. Wait, I want to back up for a second. What is the Asylum? I don't know what the Asylum is.
Okay, so the Asylum is the company that did Sharknado. The Asylum is the company that did all of the Sci-Fi Channel, those films.
No, you had me at Sharknado. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, now I get it.
I kind of joked that our film, notably titled Battle Dogs, because it was about militarized werewolves and a virus that turns people into werewolves, an original film, very original idea. That film was the one directly before Sharknado, so I always joked that we walked so Sharknado could run.
There you go, and we all appreciate that. Thank you very much. I was going to say when you said the name of it, it's like, I remember. I think I remember not seeing that. But
yes.
Okay, great. But so this is really your first feature film.
It's my first feature, and it had a real cast in it. I'm blanking on the names of right now, but like it had a real cast, it had real actors, it had a real director, real cinematographer coming out of LA, real cameras, real assistants. And it was not a great experience, but a very important learning experience because...
Did you just do Steadicam?
I did B camera Steadicam.
Okay, yeah.
And at the end of the film, actually, the director took me aside. He had a few drinks. It was a wrap party, and said, I just really want to be honest with you. I tried to get you fired on day 3. I really wanted to replace you because I just thought you were going to be no good, but you've improved so much.
I guess that's good.
It's like, wow, what a weird compliment. Thank you. Thank you for not firing me, I guess.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But, I was 22 and I had now done my first feature and it was going to be aired somewhere. This isn't like a student film. This isn't some small thing. This is going to be on the Sci-Fi Channel. This is a real movie for some definition of movie.
What was the biggest learning curve for you on that? Like being with the first real crew?
I think the biggest learning curve was having someone tell me what they wanted. And, especially when you're coming up on the really small jobs, Steadicam and nobody else knows Steadicam. So you can walk in and say, ooh, here's the idea. They're going to be over there and we're going to walk in, we're going to meet them. And then they go over there. And this was like, I want you to be on an 85 here and see this person come down this escalator. And it's like, no, an 85? That's going to be... And it's like, I want it to be on an 85.
Did I stutter?
Are you able to do an 85? Or do I need to change lenses to accommodate your skill?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you learn.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great.
It's really important. It's actually one of the most important things I think I found in my career is like having people who will ask you to do things you don't know you can do.
Sure.
That's the only way you grow. If you are only doing things 100% you can do, you're not growing. You're not upgrading your skills at all. So that was really important. Eventually, after that film, I moved back to Philadelphia and moved back in with family. I realized that Buffalo was a very small town, and there's only so far you can grow your skills if you are the only person in a 5-hour drive. Nobody really needs you. Nobody really wants you. Like, yeah, they're happy to have you. You can do a ton of Independence Blue Cross commercials. You can do all those, but nobody was going to do things that really challenged me. Nobody was going to do things that made art. So I ended up moving back to Philadelphia, and that leads to, I said, I'm doing commercials. I got in with some good people. I started like getting a network building, but I really felt like I was a bit stagnant. Like, okay, I'm 23. I've moved back to Philadelphia. I'm doing work. Like I'm working, I'm paying my bills as a Steadicam operator, which is remarkable. But how do I get from here to there? With there being, my idol, Larry McConkey, this person who I have looked up to, this god of Steadicam who has done all of these amazing things, who has, so many things on steadyshots.org, going on there and watching all these shots that Larry did and just going like, I don't even know how to do that. I don't know how to tell stories like he tells stories. I don't know how to be as clean of an operator as he is, but I have this vision. I want to be there. So as a 23-year-old, I again have the audacity to send Larry McConkey an email. And I figured the worst he can do is say no. Boy, I was brave. And I said, hi, I'm a 23-year-old Steadicam operator. I have done my first feature, but I'm still obviously establishing myself. If you could give advice to someone at the beginning of their career, like what advice do you wish someone had given you? What advice? Very just open-ended. I figured hopefully he'll have something to say. A couple days later, I get a response and shaking in my boots, I read this email, I think to my mom. And almost verbatim. And I've been told I go into a Larry voice when I tell this story. So I apologize in advance, Larry.
No, don't apologize. Please go into that voice.
And I also, notably, I'm going to use a name here that I used to go by. For those of you who haven't clocked it yet, I'm trans. So, I'm going to refer to myself as Tom here. I am now Tori. Thank you very much. But the email went something like, hi, Tom. Thanks so much for talking. It's been so long since I've started at this point that I honestly have no idea what I'd say. Would you like to come out to my shop for the weekend?
This is so great.
Did I do an approximate Larry voice?
I think you got energy. You got pretty.
I don't have the tone of voice, but I have the energy.
The tone was a teeny bit off, but for anybody who doesn't know that, no, but the energy. What I was going to say before was you said something to the effect of if Larry had something to say, and I was like, well, that's something that's never been said before, because Larry always has so much information about so many things. I actually one of my favorite Larry McConkey stories is, and I don't even recall what it was, but I think I texted him about a shot I was trying to pull off, because Larry's always about, and you as well with Larry, about figuring out how to do these complicated scenes or whatever. And I texted him and he called me back, and I was in the passenger seat. My wife's in the driver's seat, and yeah, Larry, Dave, it's Larry. And I got this idea. I think I got something. Okay. Yeah. And my side of the conversation was, yeah, but Larry, no, but what do you think? Because once he gets going, it's just he has so much information.
You'll never meet someone with as much enthusiasm as Larry McConkey.
About everything. He's so fantastic.
That's problem, amazing. Any question.
So this guy, and I'm going to ask the obvious, but basically you know him from like studying the shot, like you said, on steadyshots.org. That's pretty much, it's like, Goodfellas and Snake Eyes and
especially there was a video he did that was a breakdown of his shot on Raising Cain. And I think Charles Papert recorded a video of him at the Malibu workshop. And he's like playing the video and then pausing it and rewinding it and going, so here's the conversation I had with Steve Burrow, man. He wanted me to dutch the camera. And when you hold it at that angle, I mean, I can almost verbatim recite parts of that video because of how many times I watched it.
I'm off camera as I'm standing next to Charles. And actually, if Charles had gone a little wider, you could see my jaw on the floor. I will tell you, that was the first time I ever met Larry, and I was just like in awe, like you were. And I will tell you the one thing, I remember so many things from that, but the one thing I remember very specifically was looking at, because he had his Steadicam there, he'd brought his Steadicam out, and I remember looking at the hand grip, and there was this circle around the hand grip where there was no anodizing, like almost like the anodizing was gone. And I remember looking at it and thinking, like, because you meet someone like Larry McConkey, you're like, what's the secret sauce? I need to know the secret sauce so I can put it in myself and I can be Larry McConkey, right? So I remember looking at it and thinking, like, well, maybe does he have a way of operating, or like, is there something like, or maybe there's a drag there, or like that helps with whip pan. Like, I come up with all these ideas, and finally I got up the nerve and I was like, Larry, what is this? And he goes, oh, that's where my wedding ring drags on the gimbal. On the hand thing. And I remember thinking, like, first of all, I thought it was this way he operated, that whatever. And then I thought, oh, that's actually so sweet.
Yeah, 100%.
But he's just I have nothing but great things to say about him. So he invites you out to, is that the place where he is now?
Out to the shop in New Jersey, out to this incredible workshop. And he brings me in. First thing I see is he has a full machine shop there. I walk in and go, you have a Bridgeport? And for those of you who don't know, Bridgeport is like the manual machining mill. It is built from the 40s onwards. Like, you can still buy one new today. This is, if you want to make round parts, you get a lathe, and there are tons of different companies that make lathes. If you want to make square parts, you buy a Bridgeport.
This is it.
This is the machine.
Yeah.
And I go,
amazing.
You've got a Bridgeport? And he turns to me and goes, you know what a Bridgeport is? And of course, now I see it, and I can practically see the gears turning in his head going, this kid knows how to machine. Oh, the things I can do with them.
Yeah, right. I was just going to say, he's probably going, I've been waiting for you.
and like, I'm also computer savvy, so I'm like helping him with like a tech problem while I'm there.
Man.
And he is like, oh, let's go up, let's have lunch. And he sits me down at his dining room table, and we have veggie burgers, and he's like, so I watched your demo reel. I will note, I had not sent him my demo reel.
Oh, okay.
There was in my signature block at the bottom of my email was a link to my website, and he had just gone there and watched my demo reel.
Oh,
so again, that moment of, oh no,
dear God.
Oh no, the master of Steadicams watched my demo reel and is about to judge me on it.
Yeah.
And he gave me something that has really stuck with me, because it felt like the most important compliment I think I've ever been given, which was, he said, there's a lot of technical issues, there's a lot of flaws, there's a lot of, things you need to work on. I can definitely see the things I can help you with. But he said, every shot of yours had a very clear start, middle, and end. And there was never a moment in any shot where I wasn't sure where you wanted me to be looking.
Great.
And I just kind of was like, well, yeah, of course. Because that, in my brain, was like, of course, every single shot in my reel had to be clean. Every single shot in my reel had to tell a story. Every single shot in my reel had to have and like every single shot I do has to have a clear point of view. I have to know the idea. Mm-hmm. And then I can present that idea. But if I don't know the idea, if I'm at all unclear about the idea, it's not going to work. And I think I had kind of gotten that from Garrett and from Larry, from these people who are so clearly about the idea. Mm-hmm. And so here I am as a 23-year-old with this terrible demo reel, which I still have, and I still love.
Oh, by the way, you're sending that to me so I could put it on your page.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Please do.
Love it.
but it was shocking. And then Larry just full on like brought me into the fold and said, great, I will teach you in exchange for you doing work here in the shop. And so he mentored me and guided me through that stage of my career. And again, incredibly lucky.
That's incredible, and I'm angry that I wasn't that person. But I'm glad that it happened to a great person like yourself.
Well,
that's just incredible. What an unbelievable opportunity. But the thing is, I mean, jumping forward, it's like, I've talked to both of you about so many gadgets and gizmos and whatever. It's clear that it wasn't just one-sided. I mean, you were bringing a tremendous amount to the table that helped him, create so many things and figure so many things out. That's just so. It's also like it to me is so what the heart of the Steadicam community is about. Is going, no, we all lift each other up and we all help each other, and there's no you're up here and I'm down here. It's more how do we teach each other. It's wonderful.
Well, and he established some ground rules with me, which it's funny because I've quoted him on this a few times in front of people, and he's gone, I don't remember saying that at all. But one of the things he told me is, number one, there are no secrets. The secret is practice harder, learn better, be smarter than everyone else. That is the only way you get to be good at this, is you have to work so hard that, he's like, there are no secrets. There's nothing that I am going to hide from you because there are no secrets. There is no special sauce that I am doing. There's nothing. And anything I teach you, you have to teach other people.
Oh God, this is so I'm going to cry. This is so wonderful. It's so great.
I took that to heart. I 100% took that to heart and said, okay, cool. This is now my responsibility. I am now the holder of this information. I am the holder of this history. I am okay, cool. That I can take on that role. So that then led to the Movi. Now, so the Movi, for those who don't know, it's this handheld gimbal stabilizer. It's the first real electronic camera stabilization tool that was available to the masses.
Yeah, when it came out, we were all like, we're done. Our lives are over.
Well, that's it. It was either our lives are over or it was like this consumer garbage. And Larry flew to Seattle and was like, I need to see this in person. Does it work?
Of course he did. Yeah.
And he comes back and he calls me. And he's like, so I bought one. It's coming here. We get the first one in the world. It's mine. It's here. We're going to do it. Great. I've already got a movie coming up I need it for. And so we played with it. And what he realized very early on, I think, and what I realized is it needed two people. You needed someone to carry it and someone to operate it remotely if you wanted to do anything with any level of precision. And also he needed a tech. He needed another person. So he could be on the mill machining a part and I could be soldering wires the size of a human hair and all of this stuff. We got to collaborate and we worked tirelessly on this thing. I mean, me driving an hour each way to his house just to get in all of this time, and we really honed in the Movi and we discovered a lot of things and worked on it really hard, which then led to his brother, Jim McConkey, who's also interviewed here on this podcast, was doing a show called Blue Bloods at the time, a CBS TV show, and had pitched the showrunner on the idea of, hey, why don't we use this new cool thing my brother's using? And we brought it out. But to bring it out, they needed a tech. And congrats, who's the only Movi tech we know of in New York City? It's me.
There you go.
I don't have a local 600 union card because I'm a non-union commercial Steadicam operator.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that. Okay, yeah.
So phone calls were made, and I paid $10,000 like every good union member, which hurt a whole lot as a 25-year-old. And I joined the union as a camera operator to be a Movi tech, and got my first union job as a Movi operator. And it was mind-blowing. It was like, this is this realm of production I've never been on. I've never been on sets this big. I've never been on jobs this big. And it scared the living daylights out of me because I'm like, I can't fail. Here I have this new piece of technology that we are trying out experimentally. We've spent so much time and money developing remote control wheels, all the, literally about 2 years of work in Larry's shop to get to that point where we could bring it on a TV show. And now I'm the one who has to make it work. And it's terrifying, but
Yeah.
we did it and it worked and it was great. And Jim fell in love with this tool. So that then leads me to eventually working on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel as a movie tech,
Sure.
and working closely with Larry as we develop versions and versions of the movie and write new software for it and get involved in the R&D and the production side of it. And as I help Larry, as he builds out his rigs for stuff, and then he's helping me get really competent as a Steadicam operator and teaching me. And it's this beautiful symbiotic relationship.
That is amazing. That's amazing. On Blue Bloods, because I never really saw the show much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, were they using it to run around with it? Was someone else
we were doing
operating
it was a big action sequence. The first thing that we did was an action sequence where someone gets brought into the hospital. They've been shot. They're like some kind of witness. They get brought into the hospital. They've been shot. And of course, one of the cop characters' wives is one of the nurses who's taking care of this person who's gotten shot, but they're a witness. And so they have to keep this person alive. But then the killers break into the hospital and they shoot everybody, including the cop's wife. Oh my God. So it's this whole huge action sequence. And they're like, we want to do it with the steering wheel camera. They would call it the steering wheel. It's like, okay, no, it's called the movie. It's okay. No, it's not a Steadicam. No, it's not a steering wheel. It's the movie. Okay, yeah. And so Jim was operating on, I forget if it was wheels or a fluid head that we rigged up. All sorts of wacky stuff.
But he was remotely operating.
He was remotely operating, and then it was actually me carrying it for most of it.
Oh, it was you carrying it? Wow, good Lord.
Yeah, so I learned hard.
Yeah.
We did amazing stuff, and then, obviously I went on to do movie work on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I've done movie work on a bunch of amazing things, working with Larry and Jim. But I would say that kind of actually more integrally to my story is what happened after I did Blue Bloods, and kind of, in the interim between Blue Bloods and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
And one question: when you were on Blue Bloods, you're just coming and going, or you?
I was there for a couple days here and there.
That's what I mean. A couple days here and there. Okay. And so are you still doing Steadicam on the side occasionally? Or?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And primarily, I mean, I would come in and be like, so I'm a Steadicam operator from Philadelphia. And sometimes I work here in New York, but I'm a Steadicam operator, and I'm coming in to do this for Larry, right? For Larry, for Jim.
So you're getting your name out there and
getting my name out there, trying to build the connections.
Yep.
At the same time, I also built a little bit of a side business because I'm such a tinkerer, because I take apart gear and fix things and do all this stuff. I had a little side business of buying and selling gear. And so I had sold a bunch of gear, and Mike O'Shea, who I think you've interviewed at this point.
I've interviewed the other Mike O'Shea, who's in Los Angeles. I have not interviewed the New York Mike O'Shea, who's on my list. I have not interviewed him yet, but he's on my list.
He's a good one. He's a good one.
But I can't tell you how many times I've texted Mike O'Shea in LA, meaning Mike O'Shea in New York, and Mike O'Shea in New York, meaning Mike O'Shea in LA. So, anyway. Yeah.
So he's an incredible person, has been big part of the SOA workshop for forever. And I actually, knew him mostly through the workshop because I had started coming out to the workshop to teach a bit. Not really teach so much, but kind of be one of the helpers. And Mike asked me to sell a bunch of equipment for him, help him listing things, taking photos of things, because that was something I did pretty well. And I had just left Mike's house after picking up, I think, 10 Preston MDR2s.
Oh my God.
And, that man owns a lot of equipment.
Apparently.
yeah. And when the MDR3s came out, they, shift over. Anyways, so I had just left his house and my phone rings and it's him, and I pick it up in the car. And it's like, you're going to get a call in a few minutes. Answer it. It's work. Okay, sure, thanks. Okay, and 5 minutes later, phone rings. It's a producer from Saturday Night Live. And they say, hi, we called Mike. None of our usual Steadicam ops are available. We called Mike to see if he'd want to do it. He doesn't want to do it. Do you want to come and do Saturday Night Live this Friday? And the thing that people might not know about Saturday Night Live, obviously there is the live show that happens live on Saturday. There are also what they call their film units. And the film units are pre-taped sketches. Sometimes it's a fake commercial. Sometimes it's what used to be called digital shorts, where they're little, just, short film almost. Sometimes they're a music video. Sometimes they're just some absurdist art piece. But every week they would do between 1 and 3 pre-taped sketches. So they have 3 units sometimes running simultaneously throughout the city, sharing cast, sharing all this stuff. They needed a Steadicam operator and nobody was available. So, hey, do you want to do it? And I said yes in a heartbeat. It was the most money I had ever been offered to do Steadicam. Like, they told me the rental rate, and I thought the rental rate was the full rate. And I was like, well, and they're like, and then your hourly is. And I went,
and then your hourly.
Oh. So it was great. And I went out and I did what I thought was a pretty good job. The DP, Aaron Phillips, was incredibly kind. And the A operator was Matt Clammer, who is now a cinematographer in his own right. And they were both really kind, really lovely, really great assistants, wow. Shot the sketch. Went well. And the thing about Saturday Night Live, and this is a thing I learned pretty rapidly. You get a script on Wednesday night at about 9 p.m. Thursday, you do all of your pre-pro and camera checkout. Friday, you do a 17-hour to 20-hour day shooting it.
Oh, God.
Saturday morning, it is already in post. It is in color by 2 p.m. It is in sound mix by 3. It is on the air at 11 p.m.
It's like the professional version of the 48-hour film festival. I mean, it's 100%.
Crazy. It's insanity.
Yeah. Wow.
And so Saturday afternoon, and I don't know any of this at the time. I'm just a day player. I just got hired. I did the thing. I'm like, wow, that's cool. That's a feather in my cap. I did an episode of Saturday Night Live. And I get a text message from the DP. And he says, what's your availability next Friday? Because he was in color and he was watching my work. And something about what I did, whether it was my work, whether it was how I was on set, something about that stood out to him. And he said, hey, I want this person on my set. And that started 7 years of my life.
Wow.
So I was full-time on Saturday Night Live's. I first started on what was called the Good Neighbor unit at the time, which was the 3rd unit, so the lowest ranking one. Then after 1 season, we moved up to Beast unit. And actually at that point, we changed DPs. We went from Aaron Phillips to Charlie Grouet. And then we also changed directors. Paul Briganti came in. Paul and I think, I don't know if he was my muse or I was his muse, but like something about our work together was just electric. Like we did the most incredible work. I became the A operator. They just were like, sure, yeah, go ahead. You're the person. And lo and behold, then after a couple of years on Beast unit, bumped up to film unit. So we became the top unit and got to do the biggest sketches with the biggest hosts and all that stuff. And it was truly the most fun, incredible, and like skill-pushing learning experience in my career. I truly don't think I would be the operator I am without having done it, because that timeline of Wednesday night you get a script. And what is that script? 1 week it's Undercover Boss Starkiller Base. 1 week it is a reality show that's supposed to look like some trashy Bravo reality show. 1 week it's The Shining. Right? But it's Maya Rudolph in The Shining. 1 week it's like, you don't know what it's going to be. And you have to figure out, if you care at all, and I care maybe too much. If you care at all, you have to figure out, how do I copy that style? How do I build that look into what I'm doing as a camera operator? Obviously the set design is incredible, the lighting is incredible, all these people are at 100%. Okay, what do I do as a camera operator? How do I as a camera operator in 3 minutes sell the fact that you're watching a reality show? In 3 minutes sell the fact that this is The Shining? In 3, like, it is an incredible challenge. And, working with a director who relied super heavily on Steadicam, working with a DP who relied very much on my eye, that I composed the shots, and I, and like he had a very distinct voice. That's not, obviously never discounting what a DP is doing, but like I was there on set doing it, improvising, composing shots, working with the actors, all of this stuff. And it is where I learned to be an operator. right? Like, because not every week was Steadicam. Not every shot was Steadicam. I knew Steadicam, I knew Movi, I knew all these tools, but I didn't really know how to be an operator. And I hadn't really, I was always coming in as either the specialist Steadicam operator or as the technician for the special tool. I didn't really get to watch other operators, but I just got thrown into a position where it was like, hey, you've got to do this. And you've got to run a team, and you've got to like make a dolly grip like you, and you've got to figure out how to work with sound and how to not screw over your sound mixer by doing 2 frames that are incompatible with each other. All of that stuff was stuff I had to learn by doing wrong and then figure out how to fix.
That's well, and as I'm listening to this, so basically you did this every Friday, it sounds like basically
every Friday. We'd obviously have the summers off. We'd all go do a movie, like a little low budget movie over the summer. But yes.
So, but do you think that part of the value? I mean, it sounds like, first of all, from the point of view of doing a different genre every week, that's just amazing unto itself, because you're just like, you're like you said, you're either now we're this, now we're that. I mean, it reminds me of Charles Papert doing Key and Peele. I mean, it's just like you're constantly flexing those muscles. But then it also seems like as you're getting thrown into the fire, but you're getting thrown into the fire for one day. And then you have like almost a whole week to think about that and go, what can I do better? What can I do? I mean, it seems like the perfect situation.
To call Larry and go, so Larry, I did this thing and everybody yelled at me for it. What did I do wrong?
Why did they yell at me? Do you remember what some of the biggest hurdles of, stepping into a camera was?
I think it was really people management, right? It was figuring out how much of my job was managing people's egos, was making everyone feel respected and valued for their time, was making sure that no one at the end of the day left feeling like I was upset with them, and managing people who maybe weren't up to snuff. On that show, we weren't getting necessarily like the best of the best dolly grips. I mean, eventually we did. Like, eventually I had some really phenomenal dolly grips, but a lot of the times I had a human being who could push a dolly. Okay, well, that's going to limit what I do. And there are a lot of operators who I think would have gone into that and been like, I can't believe this. You're fucking all my shots. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, you can't do that. You can't be upset with somebody for something they don't know. And so your job is to figure out a solution. And sometimes that solution is to change the shot. And sometimes your solution is to say, I'm going to need 8 or 10 takes of this. We can nail it, but I'm going to need enough takes to get us all on the same page. And, being able to manage that and manage it with grace and decency and human compassion for these other human beings who are working incredibly hard and who are making a lot less money than you is really important. And that humanity, I think, was the biggest part. And also communication. Oftentimes I am walking up to the director and asking them a question that is going to affect what the ADs are doing with the background actors, that is going to affect what lighting is doing, what sound is doing. I am suddenly going to know a piece of information that everyone else needs to know. So I became the keeper of the information, that the ADs would walk to me and go, so what are we doing? Where are we looking? What are you going to see? And I started making it my job of, I'm going to go to you. I'm going to go to the ADs and go, we're looking this way. We're going to see this. We're not going to see over there. This is how long the shot's going to be. This is the focal length. There's going to be a B camera over here. It's going to do this. Okay, B camera, you need to be there. You need to understand, I'm going to cross your lens a couple times. Like, actually, we had a running joke on SNL that we were going to put a sticker on the back of my Steadicam vest that said, hello, B camera. Just because that's how often that was just kind of like, it's like, nope, Steadicam's just going to do this thing. And
just
then you
coming
pick up
through
some pieces.
Yep.
But that kind of people management, team management, and just figuring out how to do that and have everyone leave at the end of the day and feel like they accomplished something and are happy to be continuing to work for you. That's super important.
I love that you add that final piece in there, because I think that's something that most people don't get. And it's not to say, I mean, personally speaking, it's not to say that that's part of the job, but that's sort of what you hope for, right? Is that you've conducted yourself in a way where, even though we're doing things that are hard, and even though we're doing things that can be tough to accomplish, and maybe we don't always accomplish them as well as we want to, that everybody feels like they've contributed and been a part of something,
At the end of the day, I felt very lucky. I had an experience working with an operator, Peter Nolan, who is an incredible A operator.
Oh, yeah.
And it was my first ever TV pilot as a B camera operator. And I just remember at one point him just being like, it's just a movie. There's no body on the table. Why are you so stressed out? What are you worried about? It's fine. You're a B camera operator. It's a TV show. Relax. We're not curing cancer here. And, also, it's not your movie. Stop having such an ego about it. You're spending all this time and working really hard because it's got to be perfect and it's my shot's not working. Yeah. Your shot's not working. Is this what the director asked you to do? Cool. Then you're doing it. Great.
Then you're doing
Congratulations.
it. Yeah.
Letting go of that ego, right? That's been a big part of my career, I think, is kind of finding a way to be a kind, gentle human being, finding a way to be a definitive leading voice to make sure that everyone is clear on, like, here's what we need, but doing so in such a way that is kind, that is respectful, that is gentle, that everyone feels taken care of, that everyone feels respected. That is like my biggest priority. Quite frankly, I would rather have everyone feel respected and us produce something that is 95% as good than for us to get that last little 4% perfection, because nothing is ever really perfect. I'd rather we all have a better time doing it, because at the end of the day, we all have families to go home to and we all have lives, and there is so much going on outside of this that we're here to create art. We're here to make people happy. We're here to make people feel things. It's not worth sacrificing human beings for. So
great. So like that I wish everybody, well, hopefully everybody will hear that. But no, it's so dead on, because I think sometimes we lose track because there's money on the line and there's people pushing and we got to make a schedule. We're going to make this. And we sort of lose track that it's like, yeah, you know what? Nobody is on the table. And I like the way he put that. That's great. So how long did it take till you got to the point where you're like, I can jump on any show and be an A camera operator and I feel comfortable with it?
I think it was about 4 years, I would say. So 4 years after I started on SNL, I got my first full-time A-camera episodic job. It was a show called Dispatches from Elsewhere. It was Jason Segel, Sally Field, Andre Benjamin, Andre 3000 from Outkast, and Eve Lindley, and Richard E. Grant. I mean, what a cast. And this was an incredibly personal project for Jason Segel. It was an incredibly personal project for, I think, all of us who were involved in it. And it was shot in Philadelphia, so I was a local. I was interviewed, and the DP was just like, I like something about you. I like how you are. I like how you exist. I like the stories you want to tell. You come from the TV world, so I know you're capable, but you also come from kind of a more filmic style, so I know you're going to contribute artistically. You're not just going to be about banging this out. And actually, I ended up writing the style guide for how we shot that show with the DP, because we were bringing in other operators, and I'm like, this is a very specific show. The camera always has to be at eye level. It has to be, if we're in this part of the show, it's this series of lenses. If we're in this part of the show, it's this series of lenses. We're anamorphic, but we're cropping 16:9, and we're using one side of the frame or the other. So when we go from one side of the over to the other side of the over, you actually have to shift all your frame lines. So you're always putting the person who's in focus in the center of the lens, so they're sharp, but the other side of the person is all distorted. It was an incredibly hard show to shoot, especially as my first show as an A operator. It was like,
yeah, right. But it sounds like there's something about just the way you talk about it. It sounds like there's something about it that you works for you. And
yeah,
you, like you said, you geeking out and being very technical and being very specific and whatever. Yeah. It sounds like it's a good fit.
I really like to build rules-based cinematography. Like, I want to not just walk in and go, yeah, camera goes about here. Yeah. It's like, no. On this show, are we a little low? Are we at eye level? Are we a little high? When I film this actor, what lenses look good on them? When I'm at this part of the story, what's our style? How do we move the camera? Are things punctuated and sharp? Are they smooth and elegant? Everything at the end of the day is something to serve the story. And by creating a kind of rigid system of, here are the reasons we do it this way. It gives you a baseline and it gives you consistency. So whether you're going episode to episode, whether you're going DP to DP, if you're doing different blocks of a show, if you are doing tandems, and sometimes it's different whole crew. Okay, well, I know that I'm doing tandems on this show, but I know that your A operator was Kyle Wuschliger, and I know how he operates. I know the types of frames he does. I know the way he moves a camera. So then my goal is to ask the DP, okay, well, was it Kyle who shot this, or was it Ryan who shot this? Okay, great. So Ryan shot this episode. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that the work I'm doing is trying to ape what Ryan does, because his style is a little bit different than Kyle's, and both of them are a little bit different because of this individual show. That for me is exciting. That for me is the challenge. And then like working with a DP who you don't naturally vibe with the style of. I mean, like going on to Law and Order, and you know, I was brought on for the first 2 seasons of the reboot of Law and Order. And that was an incredible challenge because Law and Order is a very fixed show. And actually, we kind of got in trouble because we messed with the formula a little bit too much. We tried to make it more cinematic, and we tried to, it was like doing way more steady cam, doing all this stuff. And it was like, no, more handheld, please. No. And actually the handheld, can the handheld be shakier? Actually, can it?
Yeah. Because the people in the gym who turn it on in the middle of the episode need to know they're in the middle of the Law and Order episode. I mean,
and
there
was
are rules
actually,
out there.
The complaint was the Steadicam work that you do in the police section looks like the dolly work you do in the courtroom section, and we need a more clear delineation. So you can't use Steadicam with the cops anymore. Which, I mean, first of all,
you could get worse responses.
To me, what a hell of a compliment. Oh, your Steadicam work looks too much like dolly work. Oh, my lobster is too buttery.
Yeah, exactly. Well done.
You know, but like,
That's great.
That's a legitimate thing. So then, like, okay, then we update our rule book, then we update our style, then we have our guidelines, and that's how we build consistency in a show. And to me, that's like, I'm always at any point in my career, I have to have a goal. I have to have something that excites me. I have to have something that makes me want to get up, get out of bed every day and go to set and be enthusiastic. Because I've always said, if I ever lose this enthusiasm, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not interested anymore. I don't want to phone it in. I'm not cool with that, because this takes too much out of me. This is too hard of a job. If I'm ever not passionate about it, it's not worth it. So there are easier jobs to do. If I'm just in it for the money, that's fine. I'm doing this because I love it. So how do I make myself love it? Well,
so if you get on a show and you start the show and you realize maybe it's not what you thought it was, or maybe there are some people who are not as good as you had hoped they were, or whatever, do you then try to, and you're not passionate about it because of things you can't control, do you try to invent reasons that you're passionate about? Do you try to find? Is that a mental game?
It's a mental game. It's 100% a mental game, because you can walk into the same show 2 different ways. You can walk in with this like, look, it's a paycheck. I'm just here because I got to put 4 kids through college. Well, you can totally walk in like that, and you can show up and you can do a fine job and you can be competent. But you could also walk in and say, I'm working with a DP whose style I can't make sense of. I'm working with actors who do not believe marks exist, and if I put marks down on the floor, they will yell at me. I'm working with a focus puller who is tired and not getting enough sleep. I'm working with a dolly grip who's never done a compound move in their life. Okay, these are variables, but there is a solution to this. Okay, so what does that mean? That means I'm going to use a slider a lot more. If I have to move up and down, then there has to be a slider on the dolly, because they will move up and down, and I will now do left and right. And if we're going to do left and right, then we do not go up and down. And I'm working with an AC who's very tired. So that means I need to make sure that if I'm looking at a shot and going, this is going to be hard for them, that I go, hey, we're about to do this shot. Can I give you some marks? Because maybe they don't have enough mental energy left to ask for that. And I'm working with people who are overwhelmed and tired and exhausted, and I need to actually go to them and be like, hey, are you doing okay? What can I do? Can I do anything to support you? Right? Like all of that becomes part of the job of an A operator. But maybe not for every A operator, but at least for me, that is my goal is like, okay, this is a problem. Everything is a problem that can be solved. And it's just a question of what time, what money, what resources, what people, all of that. What do you have? Okay, cool. Throw all that in the blender and figure out what we can make out of that. And that's the best thing we can make. Congratulations. it's I'm sure not everyone's style. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who would go, oh, you're compromising your integrity, you're compromising what the art could be, you should stand up stronger and say no more. And it's like, oh, okay, my job isn't to say no, my job is to yes and my job is to say, that's fantastic, why don't we steer
100%.
the ship towards success.
Ari, do you know Ari Isler, operator in New York?
Yeah.
Ari told me the other day, maybe you heard this, and he said, a director once said to him, he said, don't show me different, show me better. And I thought that's a really good, succinct way of putting it, because it's like, no, I know what I want. I don't want that, but take this and make it better. And I think at the end of the day, that's really, I mean, that's so much of our job, is like, they hand us this thing and then we shape the edges and make it a little better. And one of the things, I don't know if you have this sometimes, but I think we all want to knock it out of the park every single time. And sometimes you're just not given, all of the ingredients to make a great cake. So you go, what ingredients do I have? I made some pretty decent muffins, it's just like, if I'm making it better, then I've done my job. And that took me a long time to sort of reconcile, is like, no, this is not going to be the greatest Steadicam shot ever done, because the pieces are not there. Like, the actors aren't pulling it in, or, or whatever it is.
No, 100%. And it's, you have to be at peace with it. You have to care deeply about what you do, but then have the memory of a goldfish. And the moment that shot is done and they say, well print, played. Moving on, you go, great, we're moving on. Unless, is it something that I think they're going to be really mad at me if I don't, in 6 months when they go into post, then I will speak up and say something. But at the end of the day, it's not my movie. I'm not the cinematographer. I'm not the director. I'm not the producer. My job is to take whatever their brilliant vision is and give them the best possible version of it that I can give them with the resources I've been given. And
absolutely. 100%.
At the end of the day, if I've done that, then I have succeeded. And I think, I'm very lucky in that I have people in my life and people in my career who've recognized that and who trust me to shepherd their vision and give them the best version.
So you said that, you've been doing, so how long have you been operating now?
Okay, I'll give you three different answers.
Okay,
First time putting on a Steadicam that I built was 16 years old. So I'm 36 at this point. I'm much younger than everyone expects. Everyone goes like, you're 36? It's like, I'm 36. I got I took my first Steadicam workshop at 18 in 2008. So I've been full-time only doing camera operating and the occasional DP job or things since 2013. So
2013.
13 years.
Yeah. Okay. So what excites you at this point? Because you said, you need to be excited, you need to be passionate, because at a certain point it's like, and there's always something in a shot that makes it, or you try to find it, but then sometimes you get on shows where you're like, all right, this is going to be one I got to get through and find something myself, because it's not, what is it that keeps you going?
I think there's a few competing forces, and one of which is my goal in everything I do is to be completely and entirely invisible behind the camera. I never want anyone in the audience to ever be aware that there was a human being making a choice behind this camera or a human being's hands on this camera. And that is a controversial opinion. I have heard people go like, no, it's great that you can kind of feel the humanity. And I'm like, no. I want to be completely disconnected. If I'm doing Steadicam, I don't want you to be able to tell that it's a Steadicam shot. If I'm doing a dolly shot, I don't want you to necessarily even be aware that the camera is moving unless that's important to the story. I want you to be so engrossed in whatever is happening in front of the lens that I am just putting your eyeballs where I want them to be as the viewer, right? That is so huge to me that anything that I do that is a mistake is usually giving away that something is happening with the camera. And that's the biggest thing I'm fighting is like, okay, I'm a human being. I have nerves and impulses and muscles and electrical wiring in my arms that's going down to my hands. And okay, how do I make all that disappear? What can I do to make all that disappear? And then how tightly can I know this story to know that I have to move the camera at this moment? Like when I'm doing, okay, go down and tag the phone and then come back up. okay, well, how long do you tag the phone? Oh, well, okay, let me develop a whole system. So I now have this whole system where what I do is, because obviously we've rehearsed this 10 times, I know exactly what it is. The moment I see the phone, I know exactly what the story beat is. I tilt right back up. No, it's too fast. Okay, how do you know it's to the right speed? Well, great. I tilt down, and in my head, I say to myself the words, there's the phone. Oh, that's her phone. Oh, that's got the text message on it. And I tilt back up because I figure the speed at which I'm able to say that to myself in my head is about the speed of the lowest common denominator person on their couch in middle America.
Mm-hmm.
And so congrats, that's the exact amount of time it needs. I am constantly pushing myself to like, okay, develop systems, rules, guidelines, and also I really view it as a challenge to figure out what a cinematographer's style is, not just in terms of like, okay, well, like how much headroom do they like? That's kiddie stuff. No problem. Everyone can figure out how much headroom a DP likes. Yeah. When you're doing it over, how much shoulder do you want? Do you want shoulder, or do you want neck, or do you want head? Do you want body bites? When you're doing body bites, what body parts are acceptable as body bites? How much interference do you like? Do you like air between them? Do you like negative space on the side? Do you want to fill the full composition, especially if you're doing 2-3-9? All of these things are very specific rules. And actually, I have this great moment. I worked with a DP. This is back in 2018 on a movie called Big Time Adolescence. DP Andrew Hubscher, incredible cinematographer. I mean, somebody who I would die to work with him again in a heartbeat. And he, on day one, he's like, I'm very specific about headroom. Okay, suddenly I'm like, right. Okay, time to watch. Yeah. And I was hired as B operator, and 3 days into the film he was like, congrats, you're the A operator now. That's fine. Ooh, okay. You know, because he was going to operate a camera, and he's like, I don't feel right about you not getting the A camera operator credit. You're the A operator on this film now. All right. It was, tremendous gift. Great. But I would do a shot and he'd be like, a little more headroom, and I said, okay, great, so it's that much headroom. And I always kind of measured on my monitor. Okay, it's about 1/8 of an inch. Great. And then the next shot would come up and he'd be like, a little less headroom. Okay, all right. So then, okay, maybe when we go into this size, and then I go to the next shot. I really want more headroom on the shot. I'm so sorry. And I'm just kind of, okay, what's the problem here? I'm giving him what he wants, and he's not being mean about it, but just he's very specific, and he wants something. What is he looking at? And at one point he mentions, and just kind of offhandedly, not talking to me, he's like, the eyes are in the wrong place. And so what I do is I've got my own monitor. I always have my own monitor, and I do not operate off an eyepiece. I always operate off a monitor, because for me, it is so important to see the set around the camera. I want to know when an actor who's off screen is starting to move. I want to be able to look past my camera and see something before it comes into my frame. That for me is critical. So I have my own monitor. So I put a frame line where the actor's eyes are. Just put it right through their eyes. And we go to the next setup, and it's a different size. It's going from like a cowboy to a medium shot. And I put the eyes on the line. He's like, oh, perfect.
You figured it out.
Yeah. I figured it out. And it turns out, so then I end up building on my monitor a little red box. There was a tiny little strip, and anywhere between knees up and an extreme close up, the eyes had to be in that box. So in fact, what that means is when you go from one size to another size, the headroom changes dramatically. He had this conception that what he cared about was headroom, because that's the way operators talked about it. Operators talk about it as headroom. I need more headroom. I need less headroom. It wasn't headroom at all. And once, towards the end of the film, he comes up to me. He's like, what are those lines in your monitor? And I went, oh, that's where you like the eyes. And he kind of looks at it, and he looks at the frame, and he looks at the actor, and he goes, huh.
Yeah, okay.
Interesting. And what I realized is that in his brain, he's thinking about the cut. And if you are connected with an actor, where are you watching? Your eyes are on their eyes. That is the emotional connection a human being has to another human being, is eyes to eyes. And when you cut in that performance, in especially an emotional moment, if you have to find their eyes again, you've actually removed the audience from a moment. You've made them do work in a moment when you want them to feel. So that's a challenge, right? Yeah. So suddenly you start thinking about, okay, well, what does that mean about like when I go from a medium to a close-up? The eyes have to be roughly in the same place or in close enough place that the viewer's eyes will naturally find them, that they don't have to hunt for them. Because if they have to hunt for them, I'm making the audience do work. Mm-hmm. And I don't want the audience to do work. I want them to be so engrossed in the story they don't think about it.
Interesting. Very interesting. I'm not totally sure I buy it, but it's an interesting. But totally. I don't have to buy everything. But the interesting thing that you're talking about, because I've worked on shows before where the DP is very specific about this or very specific about that, and the challenge for me always is, okay, how do I incorporate that specificity so they are getting what they want, mm-hmm. and still forget about that at the same time and get back to storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's always the interesting thing to me is like, okay, so now there's a new hurdle in here. Yep. It's funny as you were saying that about the DP being specific. So I was thinking to myself, DPs can be so annoying. And then I immediately thought, but no less annoying than Steadicam operators can be.
Oh, we're a difficult bunch. My God.
We're a completely difficult bunch. No, that's fantastic. Do you have any recollections of like doing a shot that just completely failed?
Oh, I mean, all the time. I have this dream that haunts me of this shot that I did on a show called Extrapolations. It was an Apple TV show. I was not the primary Steadicam operator, at least at first. I was asked to come in and do the first week of the show, fill in for somebody who had an emergency. And I did the first week of the show. It went great. And then he said, hey, do you want to come back for next Friday? I've got a family thing. Sure. Came in next Friday. And the next Friday, they're like, great, it's a stairs shot. And I hate stairs.
I hate stairs shots.
And the DP goes, I want a close-up on a 50 mil lens, because we're shooting large format, mini LF. So a close-up dead frontal of an actor who is playing drunk walking down 3 flights of stairs.
Well, this is a simple shot.
Yeah. And to be frank, I really screwed it up. I was like, do you need a full take of this? And they said, no, we just need chunks. And I said, okay, because I'm going to give you chunks. There are going to be parts of the shot that work. And I had a dolly grip who was not very experienced, who did not really know how to lead me down the steps. The steps had uneven landings. It was 13 steps down, then a landing that was 6 feet wide. Then it was 8 steps. Then it was a landing that was 3 feet wide. Then it was 2 steps. So, okay, suddenly there's all these height changes and the DP is very specific. I want to be this much headroom, not this much headroom. And I just failed. I mean, I gave them enough that after several takes, they said, let's just move on, which is always the death knell, where you're like, okay. Yeah. And they're like, let's do something from behind. And so I gave them some really good from behind, but I was like, sure, I'm
that's an impossible shot. I tell you, as you say that, I'm getting agita sitting here because on the Tragedy of Macbeth, it's Joel Cohen directing and Bruno Delbonnel is the DP, and they have this set piece that is a massive set of stairs. And I've been looking at this since I've been there, going, I hope they never ask me to go on those stairs. I can see it coming, whatever. Yeah. And sure enough, I go in one day and they go, so, okay, we're going to start setting this up. So it's a shot of a close-up of Denzel Washington walking down these stairs. And the stairs are so steep that I think that they probably would be illegal in most public buildings. Like it was so, and the landings were big enough. And it was one of those things where I was like, sure, we'll try it with the stand-in or whatever. But they were so steep that I couldn't get to a point where I wasn't below him, no matter how high I got the post and whatever. And when I almost got there, I'm like up above and I'm barely stepping down. And Bruno kind of looks at me and I said, Bruno, I never like to tell anybody that we shouldn't be doing a shot the way that you want it, but this is not the way to do the shot. And I said, and especially with this actor, because he's not going to give me 8 takes at it. He's going to give me 1 take and that's it. And I said, you guys have a crane here. Like we could set the crane up and bring him down perfectly. And Joel kind of looked at Bruno and he's like, can we? And he's like, yeah, I think we can. And I said, I'm so sorry. It's just, I can see with this train wreck coming and I don't want to not be able to give it to you. But I said, this is a normal stairs. This is the hardest thing. And I felt it's so weird because in reality, I know that actually I had succeeded because I had made sure that we got the shot well, and which they did. They did a beautiful job of it, and it's a better shot. But I felt like a failure at the same time. Do you know?
It's really hard to manage your own ego on that. And for me, really at the end of that, I was like, well, it's been fun working on this. This is the end. This is the end for me. And we go to lunch, we come back, and the next shot up after lunch is they're like, I got a Steadicam shot. You want to do it? Yeah, okay, sure. Okay. So it's an 18 millimeter lens, which on full frame sensor is incredibly wide. And they're like, it's this guy walking through this thing and the ceiling's really cool. Can you see the ceiling? And I said, great. Why don't we, and drop the rig, make it really long, put it right on the floor, tilt way up so it's this big distorted thing, get right off of his feet so it's this crazy distorted, and the ceiling is this like hypnotic shape and very trippy. And we do one take and they're like, wow,
suddenly you're back in
so
it.
So cool. Oh my god, that was incredible. So do you want to come in for some tandem units? And it's that memory of a goldfish thing that you have to go, I care very deeply about this shot, and they have said print, and they have said we've got what we need, we're moving on, and now I have to emotionally let go of every ounce of care that I had for that shot and every moment of beating myself up about that shot, and I have to say,
absolutely.
Then I gave them what they needed, and now we move on. It's not going to be my favorite shot. Is it going to be the first shot in a demo reel? Hell no. But is it going to be something that they are happy with? Sure. My standards are not their standards. And, I'm lucky that I got to redeem myself. And even on jobs where I didn't get to redeem myself, I still got to walk out of there and be like, I did the best I could. And give myself better grace.
Better that they're happy and you're unhappy than they're unhappy and you're happy.
Precisely.
It's a simple way to put it. You're there to do their job. That's great. So you mentioned before transitioning, and I just want to ask you about that. I mean, how is that? Look, there's the human experience, which you can discuss too if you want, but how has it been from a professional point of view?
Well, it hasn't been without its worries. It's a very interesting thing that kind of, I think I have the strikes to thank for this. As I kind of alluded to if you look at the timeline of all the stories I've told, from the time I was about 11 until now, I've just been doing video. I've just been doing film. I've just been doing television. I never really had a question in my life about what I was going to do. I was always so steadfast about, this is the thing I want. I'm going to go do it. And I'm going to put everything in my life towards it. And what that meant was, from the time I was in college, my social media was work social media. I had a company that I owned. I had all this stuff. Everything in my life, every choice I made was pushing me towards being a better camera operator. Yeah. And it was never really about who I was as a person. And there were a lot of questions in my life. I've identified as queer my whole life. I've had, a complicated relationship with sexuality and gender and all of that. But I never asked myself, like, hey, who are you underneath all of that? Because who I was Steadicam operator. And, the thing is, it's infectious. I love Steadicam. I love all of this. And the strikes happened in 2023. And exactly at the same time the strikes happened, I went through some incredible family medical trauma, ended up spending a lot of time in a hospital with a family member who needed care. And also suddenly had all of my work pulled out from under me. I had gone from working on Law and Order, 10 months of 60 hours a week on the biggest show in the world, to nothing. And when you have the rug pulled out from you so fully, you suddenly have to ask a lot of hard questions. Like, so if work doesn't come back for me, what am I going to do? What does my life want to look like? And thankfully I had a wife who loves me, who cared a lot about me and made me answer those questions. I think partially out of her own self-interest. And I had to ask questions of like, okay, well, who am I? What am I? Why is that a hard question to answer? And as I did soul searching, I came to a conclusion, which it turns out is not a very normal cisgender male thought, to say, God, my life would have been easier if I had just been born a woman, which is a thought I've had my whole life. And no, that's a normal thought. That's a normal thing. And I'm not ashamed to say it, because, it's like that was a moment of discovery for me and led me down a multi-year path, and a path that was really uncertain, and a path that I wasn't really sure if it was going to work out for me. And I wasn't sure if it was going to work out in terms of my career. I was deathly afraid that, like, okay, if I come out as trans, are people going to still want to work with me? If I'm identifying, if I'm using she, her pronouns and I'm showing up on set, looking like a woman, are people still going to respect me? Because I'm very good friends with a lot of female camera people, and I know that it's harder. Like, I've seen it happen on set, and it's unfair and it's awful, and it shouldn't be a thing we have to think about these days, but it is. But I have been very lucky that, like, I think my personality hasn't fundamentally changed. Obviously I'm still the same person. I just, am able to live a more full version of myself, and a lot of pieces in my life make a lot more sense now, and I'm very happy, and also extremely happy to be in a place where I can be visibly out. I mean, I really fought with it for a long time of, like, do I want to identify as transgender? Am I still going to get calls? Do I want to, how am I identifying? What pronouns do I want to use? And I came to realize, years and years ago, that there was someone on set who came to me and said, I noticed you have rainbow flag stickers on the back of your Steadicam vest. And I always, from day one, I've always had a rainbow flag sticker on the back of my Steadicam vest, always had a rainbow flag sticker on the side of my Steadicam sled. And this person came to me and said, I want to thank you for that, because you having that told me that if someone could be at your level, if someone could be the operator and show up and be proud of who they are, then I can be safe here being myself.
That's wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful and sad at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. It's sad that we have to. But
good for you. That's fantastic.
And so
That's
I feel the same now as a transgender person, that this is who I am. I'm not ashamed of who I have been. I'm not ashamed of my past and my history. And, if you go and look in the credits and see Tom Wills on something, I'm happy for you to recognize that was me. But I also owe a responsibility to my community to say, hey, it doesn't matter who you are. Be a good human being, be kind, be gentle, be respectful, tell good stories, be a really, really good technician. And it doesn't matter who you are. Like, you can be trans, you can be straight, you can be non-binary, you can be cisgender, whatever you are and however you are, your unique basis and the way you think and the way your brain works is valuable, and we need your perspective on set.
That's just all beautiful, really, really wonderful, and I hope everybody hears that, because there needs to be more of that. So thank you for sharing that. I have sort of an odd question. I mean, if someone you've never worked with calls you out of the blue, do you mention something to them?
I actually, I have.
Is that a strange question?
No,
I don't know.
No,
it's, just,
it's actually, especially
about...
when I get an email out of the blue, it's like, "Hi, Tom," and I go, "Hi." Also, just to update your contacts,
gotcha.
I go by Tori now. I use she, her, or they, them pronouns, and I usually throw in, just to disarm people, because I think people are intimidated talking about it. I think people are afraid that they're going to upset someone by
say the wrong thing,
say the wrong thing, and people are, and I was deeply afraid. I'm like, okay, how do I make sure that everyone feels comfortable? And I usually throw in something in the email that says, it is a very strange time in the world to come out as transgender. Politically, this is a delicate time, and certainly I don't feel like going into all of that, but it's worth it. It's worth it to be an authentic, true version of myself. And I feel very lucky that so far the people who are excited to work with me and who were excited to work with me before are like, I'm so happy you're even more you now. You're able to be in touch with things and feel things. And I am just so happy you are happy, because that means I'm going to get an even better you on set. And that's
totally
what's
true.
important.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Well, I like I said, I hope that anybody who needs to hears this, whether it's something that they've considered themselves or they need to understand that people are just people and treat everybody with respect and dignity and all that. And I think thankfully, and maybe you sort of started getting in the business in the mid 2000s. It sounds like it was
I'd
a little prolonged.
Yeah,
but,
2010s I'd say was when I really started.
So you didn't see the 1990s like I did, or God forbid the 1970s or 80s. It was a tougher place, and it's funny because I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about learning as an operator, and I said, I want to be very clear that I'm not saying that this is acceptable. But I will tell you that when I was starting as a B camera operator, you'd be doing what we used to call rehearsals, and I can explain that after the fact to the people who don't know what that is anymore. And literally,
it was a very bad time for me to take a drink. By the way, I almost did a spit take on that. Thank you.
Sorry to make you do a spit take there. But literally, like something hard would hit the back of your head, and you'd turn around and the DP would be like, what the fuck are you cutting their head off for? You can't cut their head off for. And you learned really, really quickly that that's important. And so I'm not saying that was a great way to be, but it was a tougher time. There were some things that maybe were a little better in there, but in general, it's so great that we are in a time now where not only can you go through what you've gone through and step onto sets, and people, I'm sure not every single person, but for the most part, it sounds like, are accepting, and also that you can, speak about it openly here, and that that I would like to think there are more people out there who are fine with this than not. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the world I want to live in.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, all we can do is be authentic to who we are as people, and hopefully, get acknowledged for the fact that like who we are as people is an important part of how we tell stories. And so, that's valuable, I think,
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I was having a discussion a while ago with someone sort of along these lines, and someone said something along, lines of, you just need to be authentic about who you are. And this one guy who was kind of a wise ass said, well, what if you're an asshole? And someone else said, well, then you're going to get a beat down. And it's like, see there, that works.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
There you go. Go ahead and give that a shot. See how that works. Best part and worst part of being an A camera operator.
I think the best part is how much say you have over how this story gets told, right? And it's all in little choices you make. You set a style, you set the way the camera interacts with actors. You get to make the little micro choices. Obviously, there is a director who's making big choices. There's a DP who's making big choices. There are all these people who are making big choices. You're making little micro choices, and you get to actually develop a style, and you get to hopefully get recognized for that style and have people hire you because they're like, I want my thing to look like the things you do. That is such incredible power, and it's responsibility, but it's also like you get to feel like I shaped something of this. I shaped a style here. I contributed to how this story was told in a way that feels important. That to me is an incredible gift. I get to be somebody who made people laugh, or somebody who, I did a whip pan at this moment and Video Village erupted in laughter, and it's like, fantastic. Bing. Something That's about great. What I did was funny. Great. Mm-hmm. I think the worst part is the fact that, and this is a bit strange, I miss, and actually I've been very lucky, I've been doing a lot of B camera operating recently. As work is what work is right now. There's a lot more positions where they're like, look, we've got an A operator. Would you be willing to do B camera? And it's like, yes, I love doing B camera. I love being in an actor's face and really feeling their performance. And sometimes as an A camera operator, you are sat at the back of a room on a wide shot, and your job is just to put the little tiny Lego blocks in the right places in the frame so that all the eye lines make sense for the close-ups. But you know that the scene is in the close-ups. You know that this performance is all on B camera. And you're sitting there going, Oh my God, I'm so jealous. You're getting to experience this whole world that I am just sitting here and hoping that your stuff is good.
Yeah, I'll tell you, not to sidetrack you, but I don't do enough of it, but I love being on B camera, and it's partially for what you're talking about, but it's also partially because it's like you're off in the corner and everybody's tweaking about A camera, and you're like, all right, let's set this up over here, we'll bring this over here, and you come up with these great things that because nobody's watching, do you know?
Yeah. I feel very lucky. I got brought on to Mayor of Easttown and Task as a C camera, D camera, E camera, F camera. I mean, I even did,
great.
Nobody's
watching.
Yeah, I did House of Dynamite as their E camera / arm car operator for their New York unit. And it was like amazing because they were just like, find me something pretty. It's like, okay, sure, I'll find you something.
I can
pretty.
do that.
What if I can go over there on a 400 millimeter lens and just like, okay, cool. This is total freedom. And you get a little bit more of that as B camera. As A camera, it's a little bit more established, and your hand is held a little bit more by the DP. But yeah, I mean, it's a gift in both ways, and also, regardless of what position you're in, whether you're in A, whether you're in B, you try to do your best job to be an artist and to be a storyteller. And like, you also, you're at the mercy of who are you with. Like if you're a really strong A operator and you've got a less strong B operator, you're having to pick up more slack. If you're a B operator with an A operator with very strong opinions on what the frames should be, you might be doing a lot less. And those kind of interpersonal dynamics are fascinating to me, and actually I really appreciate it because it adds some variety as you bounce from show to show and job to job. I've been loving it recently. I've been loving being able to connect with the actors in that way, and also because again I'm a problem solver. I love the puzzle of like, okay, well, what's my puzzle for today? The puzzle of I'm used to being an A camera operator where like, let's just move that furniture, let's just cheat this, let's turn this whole axis, let's do all this stuff. Well, I'm a B camera operator, but I'm still an A camera operator at heart. So I want to just move this piece of furniture because it's messing with my shot and I don't like it. So I'm going to move that piece of furniture. And then I look over A camera and the A camera operator is just like shaking their head slowly at me. And it's like, okay, so I can't move that piece of furniture. Yeah. So then what? Because I'm not happy with this. And so that problem solving is a lot of fun. So I kind of
wait, but I'm sorry because I asked you what the best part and the worst part, and I thought you were saying the worst part. You were going to the B camera operator.
The worst part is that sometimes you miss the performances, and you get stuck in the back of the room just doing that shot, and that's not as much fun. And it's also there are times where being an A camera operator is especially. Every once in a while you get a job where you've got a day player who comes in and you have to teach them the style of the show. And especially if you get somebody who's a little less cooperative or you get somebody with a big ego and you have to say, hey, no, that's not my show. I don't love doing that because I really want to respect what every individual person is bringing. But at the same time, also, it is your responsibility if you are the A operator, if you are the person who has developed this look with the DP, that you make sure you are enforcing that across all of the rest of the cameras. Because
you're the keeper of the flame on some level. Absolutely. And you have a responsibility to those operators to set them up for success. So you have to share that information. But I hear you. Absolutely. It's nobody likes to be telling anybody what to do. Do you still get nervous when you start a job?
Oh, 100%. I like to think if I ever stop getting nervous, it probably means I'm phoning it in. And so I do get nervous because I really do care. I care about making sure that I come off well. I care about making sure that I am doing what everyone else wants. And I want to make sure that I'm doing right by all the people who both have worked really hard to get me here, but also who I'm going to be working with and who I am going to be supporting and helping, hopefully, as they progress in their careers. I want to make sure that that's a lot of responsibility. And it's scary because you want to make sure you do it right. But that fear, that anxiety before I go into a job, the fact that I can never sleep the night before a job, that tells me that I'm still caring, that tells me that I'm still engaged, that tells me that this is still something I love.
Well, Tori, this has been fantastic talking to you. It's always great to catch up, and I really just thank you for your honesty and your information and all the little tidbits you've given, and It's always nice to hear a fellow geek discuss things.
I try.
Absolutely. I'm going to leave you with the question that I leave everybody with, and you can take us out with it. Advice for someone getting into the film industry today on how to succeed, and or something you've learned along the way that's helped you that you wish you knew early on in your career.
So at the beginning of my career, it was one of my first PA jobs ever. I was taken aside by someone, and he said that, you know what I really appreciate about you? Your work ethic. You show up and you are excited to work, and you don't know everything, but that's fine. I can teach people anything. I can't teach work ethic. I can't teach you to be excited and happy to sit down and do something hard. And that has served me better than anything else in my career, that I am excited, I'm enthusiastic, I am nice. You know, you can only really be a jerk in this industry if you are really, really good. And so if you want to be a good camera operator, you want to be somebody who has a long career, you want to be somebody who is successful, you have to be nice, you have to be excited to do the work, and you have to be excited to learn. You have to be excited to grow. You're going to make mistakes, and you have to be able to say, I'm learning from that, and I'm going to be better, and I'm never going to do that again. And if you can do all of that, you've got a long, beautiful career ahead of you. So good luck, and hopefully I see you on set.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening, and have a great day.